And welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is hope and despair. And this topic comes from a presentation we did last night on Sustainability Now. It was a brilliant talk by Janine Benyus, who's probably the first and certainly one of the major proponents of biomimicry. Anyway, we'll talk about hope and despair and how we are present in a time that is so challenging. How do we find some kind of balance to keep ourselves hopeful? Anyway, should be interesting, but before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel all the pressure, the friction, the temperature, the motion, the tickling and tingling that you feel when you stop and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to be here with you this morning. And Jenny, oh my heavens, good morning. Jenny says, I've been in the ICU for 3 days. Wow. Jenny, welcome back. Thankfully, you're here, able to be here with us, and hopefully you're out of the ICU. And I hope you're okay. I'm so glad to know that you're here with us. And let's all send you some loving, healing energy and intention. Wow. Welcome. Welcome, everybody who's here with us this morning. We're talking about hope and despair. And this comes up because of a presentation that we did last night on Sustainability Now. We did an airing of the interview with Janine Benyus, who is one of the foremost proponents of biomimicry, which is really apprenticing to nature to learn of nature's brilliant solutions for all kinds of things that we strong arm chemically and mechanically to create solutions, materials, and processes, and learning from nature. And oh my gosh, Jenny's still in the ICU. Wow. Well, you're bringing us to the ICU. You have a blood infection. Wow. So let's all just take a moment. Let's just take a moment and see your blood being healthy and whole and clean and oxygenated and cycling through your body, bringing health to all your organs, cleansing itself, correcting itself, balancing itself, and just continuing to improve. So, Jenny, we wish you all the best in your healing. And I want to say, Rosalind, it was so wonderful to have you there at a movie night last night. And I'd love to hear your feedback on the session. We got to talking not only about the magical wonders and brilliance of nature in creating all kinds of solutions for energy, for beauty, for abundance. But we also got to talking about the radical changes that are occurring in nature that are in many ways due to our practices as human beings and what we're doing to the planet, and the potential acceleration of the destruction that we've been creating, and the consequences that not only we are facing, but that other species on the planet are facing. And in the face of this conversation, the movie, Jenny and everybody else, it was an interview with Janine Benyus. So if you go on to YouTube and look for Janine, Janine Benyus, Benyus, and Janine Benyus on biomimicry, you'll find it's about an hour long. And that's the interview that we aired. It's brilliant. She's brilliant. And it got us to talking about how to manage the despair, because people were asking in the chat, I wonder how she knows what she knows and sees what she sees. And by the way, this interview was from 2006. So it's from 17 years ago, and it's even more poignant today. How does she stay hopeful? How does she prevent herself from falling into despair? And I think that this is something that all of us are facing, that all of us are contending with. And there's a young woman, I guess she's about 24 now, 24 or 25. Let's see. Thank you, Dido. Dido just gave us the link, and I'm checking it to see if it's the right link. Yep, that's it. That's it. Thank you so much, Dido. Much appreciated. So Dido put the link to Janine's talk in the chat if y'all want to check it out. It's extraordinary. And so anyway, we got to talking because at the end she talks about the impact of climate change and how we're seeing it in species, and also the impact of our agricultural practices. This was from 2006, so 17 years ago. And thankfully, there's a large movement toward regenerative farming, but we can only hope that it's going to take hold quickly enough to make an impact that is measurable. But I think I was talking about Clover Hogan. Clover Hogan is the young woman that I was mentioning, who is about at 24, 25 now. She's been an activist since she was 11 or 12. And her latest work is focusing on managing, I forget what she calls it. It might be like ecological depression or something along that line, where so many of us and many, many, many young people are experiencing a deep sense of despair at the potential, the future, looking at what's happening to the planet and thinking, wow, they may not even have that much of a future left, or the future they're they're looking at could be just so devastating. So her current focus is on supporting people in moving through that despair and to find hopefulness in action. That in taking action, we then can be surrounded by hope, that we can at least feel like we're doing something. Thank you so much, Dido, for Clover Hogan. Eco anxiety, that's her. Eco anxiety. So Rosalind says, I was still working when watching. Can you recap? How does modeling nature work with the self-cleaning to be applied to soaps, and how nature builds materials along basic elements in the elemental table? So just to address your questions, Rosalind. So one of the things that Janine spoke about was how we try to clean things with detergents. Nature doesn't do that. Nature has some very elegant solutions. And one of the solutions that she spoke about was something that they call the lotus effect. They took a lotus petal, because lotus, obviously, it's one of the most beautifully bright, clean, white type flowers. And they put it under a microscope, and they found that there were these little bumps on the surface that were at regular intervals. And as a result of those bumps, what would happen is that dirt and dust would fall on top of those bumps, and then rainwater would land. And as the rainwater was rolling off the bumps, it would take the dirt and take the dirt with it. So in essence, there was no need for any kind of detergent. It was literally a self-cleaning, or maybe not self-cleaning, but an intelligent design that allowed nature's interactions to be able to clean the surface of the flower and of the leaves. And another example, or another thing that Janine highlighted, was that in our manufacturing processes, we use all the different elements in the periodic table, whether they're toxic or not, whereas nature uses a subset of those elements that are non-toxic and uses them with incredible elegance to manufacture all kinds of substances. So Rosalind says, thank you, Nito. Yes, and one of the other examples that I thought was so cool, actually, she talked about spider webs, and how the spider is taking and processing carbohydrates and excreting a liquid that goes through this spinneret sort of thing. And apparently there are 4 different variations of this liquid, and is creating a material, which is the spider web material, which pound for pound was something like 10 times stronger than steel. Remarkable, right? There's no heat. That she was talking about how in our manufacturing, we go through a heat, beat, and treat process. So we heat something up to incredible temperatures, we apply pressure or force to it, and then chemicals. And nature doesn't have the luxury of expending and wasting all that energy and all those materials, and has developed an incredible elegance over the centuries and centuries and centuries that it has been evolving. So the point is that there's so much for us to learn from nature, that which has been developing its techniques and technologies for forever. So it's really rich and wonderful to listen to. And one other example she gave was of color in nature. We think of the most brilliantly colored creatures, like the wings of the butterfly, the feathers of a peacock. She said butterflies, blue jays, they're brown. That's the only pigment, but the color is structural based on the top several layers of materials in their bodies that deflect and reflect light to create these brilliant colors. So fascinating stuff. And with structural color, we wouldn't need to be using all the toxic chemicals that we use to create pigment in paint, for example. So very cool stuff. Good morning, good evening to you, Gia. Welcome. It's so good to have you here with us. We're talking about hope and despair, and how you wouldn't know that because we were just talking about the brilliance of nature, but this all came out of a conversation that was prompted by an interview that we collectively watched at Sustainability Now movie night from Janine Benyus, who is I don't know if she may be the founder of biomimicry. I don't know, I'm not sure, but she's certainly one of the greatest proponents of it. And she was talking about the changes as of 2006 that were happening on the planet. By then, a third of our topsoil had gone off into rivers and oceans. And she made a beautiful point about our topsoil being the new oil field. And what she meant by that is, rather than using petrochemicals to create plastics and fuels, and instead using plant materials, that obviously the quality of our topsoil and our soil is going to determine our capacity to be growing the plants that will serve as the foundation for these new substances and fuels. So the question is, how do we maintain hope in the face of so many things that are literally that are very worthy of our they could make a big case for despair. And Clover Hogan suggests that action is an antidote to despair. That if we at least, it's not that we won't feel despair. There will be moments of despair. I mean, all of these people who are fighting to create a better world, who see the ills of the world and are trying to correct them, all of them have to navigate this awareness, right? I just heard that John Fetterman, who recently won election in Pennsylvania, just put himself in the hospital for clinical depression. And I think that this is a rampant condition that those of us who are trying to change the world, and those of us who even are willing to recognize the state of the world, are confronting. You know, people trying to change systems, people trying to make the world a better place, are confronted with these seemingly insurmountable, overwhelming challenges. And being in action, taking some action, is a source of hope. It gives us at least a sense of empowerment, even if it's against an unbeatable foe. And I'm not saying that's true. And I don't really like to resort to this notion of battle and fight and foe and enemy and all threat and all of that. And so there is a place where we can transcend that to get to a place of presence and a place of connection. It was interesting because one of the folks on our movie night call last night, and by the way, if you're interested in joining us for movie nights, they're very stimulating, educational, inspiring, awakening. You can sign up for our newsletter at sustainabilitynow.global, and you'll get notification of the what we're going to be airing, the programming for our movie nights, which occur on Thursday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Anyway, one person said, what we get to do is love nature more and more and more and more. And what another person said that I thought was so beautiful was, we get to experience how much nature loves us. And in this sense of connection, in this experience of being connected to nature and our love for it and its love for us, perhaps we can transform our interactions with it and with each other, because that was another big point that Janine made, is we are nature. We also are part of nature. We are not better than nature, nor are we a scourge. We are nature. And when we find ourselves in greater connection and relationship with nature and with ourselves and with each other, then it dictates our actions in a very different way. It guides our actions rather even than dictating them in a very different way. Dido, thank you for putting the link. You can check in the chat for a link to Sustainability Now, and you can sign up for our newsletter. Dido says we get to love nature and be loved by it. I love that. Yes, I do too. I do too. You know, nature, if you think about it, nature provides everything that keeps us alive. You know, it's through nature that we have the air that we breathe. Ooh, it's bringing a lot of emotion. But when we connect to it, you know, the trees are creating oxygen and creating topsoil along with the mycelial network and all the plants and the animals, and this beautiful, beautiful integration of all the organisms working together to provide air and water and sunshine and light and everything we need to survive is being gifted us by nature. And so when we can love nature and let her love us, then perhaps we can find the connection, the reconnection that we need to be able to navigate the challenges that we are facing that are unprecedented on the planet, in human history at least. And you know, the other thing to know is that regardless of what we do, Earth and nature has gone through many, many cataclysms throughout its history, and nature will prevail. And whether we do or not, there have been multiple extinctions in the history of the world. And each time, this is thanks to Dr. Zach Bush had pointed out in another presentation that we shared. If you want to check that out, you can look on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube for Dr. Zach Bush or Zach Bush MD on the state of regeneration. But he spoke about how each time nature has gone through a mass extinction, the world, the planet has regenerated itself, and life on the planet in a more robust, more diverse, richer environment each and every time after going through a major cataclysm. And talked about how that's what the planet is primed for now, is a regeneration. As we're going through the sixth major extinction, a regeneration that may be more verdant and rich than any prior state of the planet. So there are things to be hopeful about, and we can generate hope and action in our localized environments. And we were talking the other day about the power of awareness. And by bringing our awareness to the call of the world for our support and our assistance and our engagement and our action, we can be a part of this transformation. We can't help but be a part of it, whether we're actively engaged for good or unconsciously engaged otherwise. We are part of the transformation that is taking place. And to be hopeful, we get to be in action locally. And to what it was interesting, there was one woman on the call who said, "Oh, I wish I were younger so that I could get involved and do something that makes a difference." And the fact is that at any time of life, we can all get involved and make a difference. And we don't need the trappings of a degree to do it. We just need to follow the passion and calling of our hearts and allow that to spur us into activity, and stepping perhaps into or beyond our ableness. So Carol Sanford, who's a wonderful, brilliant voice of transformation and change, says to make a promise beyond ableness. So what that means is to make a commitment to make a difference that stretches us beyond our knowing of who we can be into new potential, new expression of our deepest and fullest selves. And there's no time like an emergency to rally parts of our being that we never knew we had, and to call those forth into action. So with that, it's Friday, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And Rosalind says, connecting and protecting to infinite source. Thank you for today's topic. Rosalind, you're so welcome. And yeah, we get to do this together. So until next time, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on Enlightened World Network's Facebook page and YouTube channel each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on EWN. Let me see, Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And until next time, so much love to you.